Then let's get started. Whether it's work or not for you, I suppose that's really up to you to determine, right? But I have some strawberry kiwi drink. I have a book, and I have a somewhat blank piece of paper. And I think that it is going to be time to begin as we generate. Really, we're going to be generating a couple different societies, right? A couple different islands that have. It'll be somewhat like a settlement series or a settlement video we've done before. But we're going to be making a couple smaller settlements that are going to exist in several smaller islands, maybe in a chain or some sort of an archipelago. Similar to what we read about in the Sword Coast Adventurers Guide, right? If we come over here to go to the realms, and there is... here we go, I'm sorry. The Island Kingdoms, right? On page 66. And it has the various maps. It has, so if we were to use, let's use the Moonshays as an example. It's a group of islands, but the islands are very different, right? Gwyneth was a very fae-driven, forested, very sylvan. And then we come over to Murray, and Murray is orcs and giants, and they're not that far. In fact, we could zoom in, and without a scale, this could very well be 10 miles to swim. Is that anything to a giant? I don't know. But we have these very different climates, right? The Corn Archipelago is described as very bitter and cold and ice-choked, and yet things seem to be at least a little bit more temperate. I'm sure they'd probably get some snow in the winter. So we'll create something kind of like the Moonshay, although we might end up kind of splitting it out. We'll cross that bridge when we get to it. How about that? Anyway, let's go back to our Dungeon Master's Guide. Now, on our handy-dandy guide, there are various terrain types. Oh, actually, that's in the player's handbook. We can generate terrain. It is a good amount of islands, and each one has its own, it does its one thing rather well, right? It's a more limited society, and so we're going to find ourselves being able to, model a campaign environment around that, because there's so much that can be done. Three, 4, 5. Oh my god, what? Don't worry. This is going to go quickly, because each of them is going to be a little bit more limited in scope. Alright, so, island number 1. What are its terrain types? Well, we can reference that here with the Circle the Land Druid. Now, you can also pull this info off of the Ranger class in the player's handbook, but this is very well laid out here. So let's roll 2d8. Well, 5 and 5. All right, so we get it. One's going to be a 5. The other's going to be a 4. 1, 2, 3. Forest and grassland. Now we're going to go over to the Dungeon Master's Guide. And the type of government that will be running island number 1. Well, let's roll it on a percentile. We rolled a 61. That's going to be a militocracy. A militocracy, the most intelligent, or I'm sorry, that's a meritocracy. Military leaders run the nation under martial law, using the army and other armed forces. A militocracy might be based on an elite group of soldiers, an order of dragon riders, or a league of sea princes. Solamnia, a nation ruled by Knights of the Dragonlance campaign setting, falls into this category. The Solamnic Knights. You might be able to argue that they're a religious order, but they were very regimental, and I could see it fitting this up here. All right, now let's zoom forward to page 109. Actually, I'm sorry, I needed 108 first. Let's give this island a monument. Now, because we're making each island, I don't want to call it a one-shot, like we're just going to throw it away. They will be developed, but we don't necessarily have to incorporate a tremendous amount of detail, at least in the first concept of this chain of islands. Oh, hey, Volvo, look at that. Nice critical hit. Nice critical hit. But here, let's roll 2d20 and see what monuments are on this island. Or actually, let's stick to the exercise here. And let's do this. We can change up how we do things. Every island is going to have a monument, or it's going to have a weird locale. I'm going to roll a 3-sided die, and we'll just decide if it has a monument. You know, a chance for 2 normal monuments, or I'm sorry, 2 chances for a normal monument, or a third of a chance for a weird locale located on that island. We rolled 3. All right. This is going to have a weird locale. And that weird locale is going to be... We rolled an 18. A forest of petrified or awakened trees. All right. We can probably forego... Oh, sir, can I help you? Sir? Sir. Hi. Are you okay? All right, then. We might not have to worry about a dominant race or a minority race. I mean, we could. Again, these are details we could go in and develop each little, like, island city-state. But for us wanting to go through and create 5 different islands, we might not have to worry about a minority race. And when it comes to the race relations... we could still roll something and use it as I guess, the population relations with itself, like the population sentiment. All right, we're gonna roll a D10 and we'll re-roll. Let's see. No, Skag didn't introduce new races, so even though we're using it as a supplement here, we'll roll a D9 and roll cross-reference that with our character builder to find out which race is dominant here. We rolled a 5. I believe that's humans. No, it's Dragonborn. Sir, no, off the keyboard. Alright, I don't know why you're just snuffling around. Come on. Dominant race, Dragonborn. How do they get along with each other? We rolled a 17. It says the racial minority are rulers. So if we want to look even within the race of the Dragonborn, it could be that the metallics are the minority, but they're the ones who rule over the chromatics, or the other way around. Or what if this is just, it's a mix and we actually are finding the more rare colors, like brown dragonborn, or purple dragonborn, or cobalt dragonborn, or even some gemstone dragons. Those were in 3rd edition. That was like the neutral variety of dragons. Racial minority are rulers. It could even be the fact you might have a normal mix of dragonborn, but there are some that are born with tails. And that makes them closer to their draconic ancestors. Maybe even little vestigial wings. Oh, heck. There was a race in Final Fantasy, not Tactics. No, it might have been Tactics. It was a race that had, not Moogles either. It was a race that had little vestigial wings. Or am I thinking of something else? I thought they always wore helmets. You could never see their face. Was that Crystal Chronicles? But anyway, I hope my point is made. In fact, that will have them stand out even more in this island chain. The ruler's status of this island, we rolled a 20, is a religious leader. What's the notable trait about this island? We rolled a 3. Oh, there's a grand temple. Doesn't that work out well? This island is known for its... We rolled a 5. A great hero or a savior. However, there is a current calamity going on this island. And that calamity is... 15. It's on the brink of war. Well, it's a good thing it's a militocracy, right? Now, are these the good guys or the bad guys? Can we even make such a distinction? Now, we can generate whatever the main port city is on this island. I don't want to worry about that just right now. But we can add a couple notable buildings. You know, so this island is known for this stuff up above, but in particular, in fact, we can name what's the religious building that's going to be here. Let's roll a d20. Roll a 17. A library dedicated to religious study. You'll find that sailors are often very spiritual, very religious, very superstitious. Because, look, your life depends, every second of every day you're on the seas. You are dependent upon forces that are really beyond your control. And you hope and pray for luck, for safety, for good winds, for good fortune, for health. And so having an island like this would make a whole lot of sense. In fact, as sort of a primary, a primary force, maybe the base of operations, this would be very interesting to have. And of course, we need the best tavern in town, which could also be the worst. What is the most reputable or disreputable place to go to find whatever you're looking for? Let's roll 2d20. 3 and 17. The staggering satyr. The staggering satyr. Ooh. If you can make a satyr drunk, that place has got to have some good stuff. You'll make Botchus look like a nerd from the old 80s college movies. Like, no drinking. Which, of course, it's suspected nerd, by the way. Actually, nerd is drunk spelled backwards, K-N-U-R-D. So you're the anti-drunk, right? So you have drunks and then you have nerds. And then that just ended up being shortened to N-E-R-D, because that's how it sounded. And the tavern style is... We rolled a 9. It's a raucous dive. I'm kind of thinking... It says there's a racial minority that are the rulers. If there's a forest of awakened trees, what if the trees are the rulers of the island and have militarized the Dragonborn for protection, among other things? And we could very well have a religious leader, and we could think of it as a standard religion. What if this is a druidic religion, right? The worship of nature. And yes, they're Dragonborn, but maybe these are Dragonborn that landed here seeking to go back to a more primitive lifestyle. They want to become more in touch with their ancestors. Could that be a possibility? Do you think that could be an interesting idea? Okay, let's go back and do it again. What is our next island type going to have for its terrain? 4 and 7. 1, 2, 3, 4. It's going to have forests and swamps. The government here is going to be... We rolled a 12. It's going to be a bureaucracy. Let's roll our D3. And does this island have a prominent monument or a weird locale? 2. Alright, so it's going to have a monument. Whoops. The monument this island bears... We rolled a 5. Intact obelisk etched with a warning, historical lore, dedication, or religious iconography. Well, you know what? I don't know why I typed all that out. Why don't we just roll a 1, 2, 3, 4, a 4-sided die and figure out which one this has. We rolled a 2. So it has historical lore. Okay. Not going to worry about a minority race. Our dominant race is going to be 5. Another dragon. Ooh. Ooh. Dragonborn again. We rolled an 11. Ruled or controlled by a powerful monster. The ruler is, I should say. Hey, Dark Wolf, welcome. Whoops, I'm sorry, that was the ruler status. The race relations are a D20. 12. Tension or rivalry. Oh, woo! Here, I'll throw one in there too. Its notable trait is 9. Population is mostly wealthy. The island is known for its... We rolled a 5. Another great hero or savior. Uh-oh. I think I get what this war might be fought over. Remember what war stands for. The current calamity happening on this island is... We rolled a 7. There's corrupt officials. I'll say if they're ruled by a monster, right? Of course, what if the powerful monster is a dragon itself? That could be interesting. In that case, the first island that these could have been people who fled and are seeking to be maybe one with the world instead of above and apart from it, such as the modern incarnation of draconic hubris. We'll come back. So it's not exactly the town. I mean, well, it could be the town name or the island name. There's going to be a religious building of some kind here. We rolled a 14. Oh, it's an abandoned shrine. And the best tavern in town is a 17. It caters to a specific race or guild. And is called... We rolled a 19 and a 7. The Black Stag. All right. You can see... Can we not already tell a story with the one island, let alone the two? And we're going to make 5? Rah! What's going on with that? When we finish the random number generation, then we can go back and let's talk about names. Let's talk about details. Let's build a little bit of lore. You know, what's connected and why. And then we can even go through and add a couple more details. What would this place do for its economy? What does it produce? You know, what does it import? What does it export? What are some... And there's ways we can figure this out. And we can do it randomly. So stay tuned. I'm not just blowing through this and like, hey, we're done and that's it. Oh no. Nay, my friends. We're going to build a culture and we're going to do it out of just the core rule books. We got this. We got this. Trust in me. Our third island has the terrain types of 7 and 1. Arctic and swamp. Its form of government is going to be... We rolled a 59, another militocracy. Oh, and by the way, for bureaucracy, which was island number 2, various departments compose the government, each responsible for an aspect of rule. The department heads, ministers, or secretaries answer to a figurehead, autocrat, or council. All right, let's roll our D3. Will it have a monument, or will it have a weird locale? We have a monument. And our monument is going to be... We rolled a 4. Giant statues carved out of a mountainside or cliff. All right. We're not worried about a minority race here. The dominant race on this island is going to be... We're going to roll a D10. 6. Not 5. Close, though, right? But instead of another island of Dragonborn, instead, we have an island of gnomes. Now, if we really want to get down to it, we could roll... Actually, we could roll a D3 here. Because the player's handbook has 2 types of gnomes. Right? Forest gnomes and rock gnomes. However, the Sword Coast Adventures Guide, which we have been using, also has the Sverfneblin, which is fun to say. So why don't we roll a D3 and find out if there's a colony of primarily one type of gnome that lives here. Three, Sverfneblin. Next up, we have, what are the relations? What is the general tone of the populace? Roll a d20. We rolled a 10. Harmony. Oh, it seems like a nice place so far. Maybe the weather and the terrain's a little inhospitable. But that's probably why they live underground, or at least as much as they can in a swamp. Ruler's status. We also rolled a 10 for that, which is going to be an illegitimate ruler with, simmering civil war. So currently there's harmony, but that seems to be threatened because someone is ruling that ought not to do so. Its notable traits. We rolled a 19. It's the site of an important tomb or graveyard. Let's roll odds or evens on our D20 and find out, is it going to be odds, tomb, or I'm sorry. Yeah, tomb is odds, graveyard is evens. We rolled odds. Site of an important tomb. This island is known for its... We rolled a 20. Ooh, it's patriotism. Maybe that's why there's a simmering civil war, because people love their country so much, and they can't stand to have this happen. And the current calamity, aside from a simmering civil war, huh? 1. Uh-oh. Suspected vampire infestation. Vampirix Verfneblin. Now, we can take that quite literally, and it can be a suspected vampire infestation. You know, fangs, undead, the whole bit. If we wanted to, for the sake of storytelling, we could use that as a prompt and simply insert another similar force, a concept similar to vampires. One that's, you know, making its way through. It could be subtle, and use what is going to be important to tell a story. But it can be vampires. I mean, this could be suspected changeling infestation. Ooh, how about that? If we wanted. All right. What is the religious building, or the religion in some way on this island, as expressed through its primary religious building? We rolled a 13. It's a home of ascetics. So it's a bit of a retreat, and maybe that's why, you know, swamp and Arctic terrain aren't very friendly, but you're not going there to necessarily be friends. Now, the people who live there are friendly, and that's probably because they do have to be friendly to get along with each other, because they're sharing, you know, whatever limited resources or cramped quarters. But religiously, it seems to be more about isolation, maybe reflecting on yourself or your place in life. And the best tavern in town is we rolled a 20. It's a brothel. And its name is, we rolled 9 and 9. The Slaughtered Lamb. Would your characters go to a brothel called the Slaughtered Lamb? I guess that could reflect the loss of innocence. It is, but you know what? We rolled it, and I think we can still make it work. I mean, maybe it'd be like going to Hooters, and you go there because their wings are really good. Well, so of course, you go to the Slaughtered Lamb because their lamb chops are very tasty. Best food in town, and by the way, if you go upstairs... We should probably, for the Dragonborns here, roll for if they're chromatics or metallics. So let's do that. I'm going to roll a d6. Whoop. Well, all right, rolled a d6 twice. Unfortunately, off of one click. I don't know why. So the first roll is an odd, and the second is an even. So that would be... chromatic, and these ones would have been metallic. Hi, Daly. Welcome. Oh, geez, look at that! Look at that! That golden lull and a big old high. But does anyone have the golden kappa today? Does anyone in chat have the golden kappa? Who knows? All right, island number 4 in our campaign setting. Let's pop back over to the player's handbook and roll 2d8. 2 and 6. Coast. 3, 4, 5, and mountain. Now you may say, well, come on. It's an island. Of course there's going to be coast. There could be a lot more of it, right? The beaches go really far inland. You know, we hear of a deserted isle would be all, you know, that could be the desert terrain as well. But coasts, it could also be that there's a lot of reefs around, or that the island is maybe itself, maybe the island only shows up around low tide. But at high tide, most of the island is covered over. So Dark Wolf doesn't have the golden kappa of Twitch today, but she does have a white crapper, is what she's saying with her emoji. All right, the form of government. Let's pop over to our DMGs and roll a percentile. We rolled a 16. A confederacy. That might lend credence to the fact that as the tides go in and out, this island might otherwise be big, but it could be several smaller islands, and each has its own little tribe, and they get together, but only during low tide. Confederacy. Each individual city or town within the Confederacy governs itself, but all contribute to a league or federation that promotes, or at least in theory, the common good of all member states. Conditions and attitudes toward the central government vary from place to place within the Confederacy. The Lord's Alliance in the Forgotten Realm setting is a loose confederacy of cities, while the Mror holds in Eberron, it's a confederacy of allied dwarf clans. Oh, oh, that is a very colorful poo. There we go. We can add color to it that way, too. All right, let's roll a D3, and do we have a monument or a weird locale? And by the way, for monuments and weird locales, that was a self-imposed thing. I think that by adding at least 3 notable features to a piece of wilderness or terrain or something, it can help make an area more memorable to your PCs and to the people who are piloting them. Three, we have a weird locale on this island. And the weird locale is going to be 2. A dead magic zone. Ooh. A dead magic zone. Think how interesting the Tuesday campaign would be if it was a dead magic zone and not a wild magic zone. All right, the dominant race of this island is going to be 9. It's going to be tieflings. Now, because we are we're involving the Sword Coast Adventures guide, Dead Magic Zone, it means that there's an anti-magic field in place. Volvo. Dead Magic is Jade the Swall, the game. You are all casters. That fight with Tazray would have been a little bit different, wouldn't it? All right, how do the tieflings get along with each other? We rolled a 14. There is tension or rivalry. Bright would Bright would have to actually make him laugh. Oh yeah, and it would be Mordecai the Nimble. That's true. It wouldn't just be Jade the Swole. The ruler's status is, we rolled a 16. On deathbed, claimants compete for power. What is the notable trait of this island, besides the fact that magic is verboten? 3. There is another grand temple here. Ooh, but to what or whom? This island is known for its, we rolled a 12, gambling. And the current calamity facing the island is, we rolled an 18. A scandal threatens powerful families. Norlai the Swift could still run away. Oh, jeez. So would Bright be what? Bright the Keen? And if that's the case, what would Celine be? What is the religious building here? It could very well be that Grand Temple. Doesn't have to be, but it could. Did that just roll twice? No. All right, 18 was my last roll. All right, so 16. A library dedicated to religious study. Bright the Small, Celine the Tall. The best tavern on this island is a raucous dive named 7 and 4. The Running Pegasus. In what D&D world is this? Sire, we're making our own campaign setting. That's part of the point of our workshop tonight, is I want to show you ways that you can generate your own concepts out of the core rule books. Not that, I'm not going to presume that you all can't think of these things on your own, or you can't take an idea you've seen elsewhere and modify it. But if you want to generate content from, well, just some dice rolls, that's what we're practicing here, as we're making 5 different islands for our sailing campaign that we're looking into last week and this week. As we're looking into this, and we are, this is going to be the setting for the campaign that we're going to make tomorrow on our stream. Yeah, I know. When I copied and pasted, technically the tavern should go first before the name generator. Oh, and I'm sorry. I see they're also on that Dark Wolf, because I flipped it to be that way, and because the work anyway. Yeah. Got it. So yeah, Sire, just with the PHB and the DMG. In fact, if you've been, you'll see when we generate our final piece, right? Our 5th island. The process we've been using, in case I don't know if you're AFK or not, for the others here. This is the basic settlement concept worksheet that I use for other campaign settings that we make on our stream. And we're modifying it a little bit because islands are going to be a little bit smaller, a little bit more focused. So instead of 2 monuments in a weird locale, we're just going to roll and see, is there a monument or a weird locale. We're not really worried. I mean, there's probably a dominant race that lives on the island, but do we have to worry about a large minority race? Maybe yes or no. But we're for what we're doing here, I'm going to get rid of that and use race relations to be more or less what's the population's feelings on things. And especially with an island, you're going to have all kinds of people coming and going. So it'll really be a mix. So of the people who live here, what is the dominant race? All right, let's go over to our players' handbooks. And what are the 2 terrain types for our final island going to be? Let's roll 2d8. 7 and 4, which is what we rolled on 2d20. Uncanny. 7 and 4, it's going to be swamps and forests. Going back over to our Dungeon Master's Guide, let's look at the type of government that is going to be running this island and roll a percentile for it. We rolled a 73. That is going to be a monarchy. Monarchy, a single hereditary sovereign wears the crown. Unlike the autocrat, the monarch's powers are limited by law, and the ruler serves as the head of a democracy, feudal state, or militocracy. The Kingdom of Breland in the Eberron campaign setting has both a parliament that makes laws and a monarch who enforces them. Now let's roll a d3 and find out if we have a notable monument on this island or a weird locale. We rolled 1, so we are going to have a monument of some kind. And our monument is going to be... We rolled a 6. An intact obelisk etched with a... And I'm going to roll a d4. Yes, if you want me to bust those open, Trust, I can do that for you real quick. We rolled a 3 on that. So it's not a warning, historical lore. It'll be a dedication. Where did I set your boxes? Oh, yep, they're up there. Okay. Give me a second. I gotta get up and get them because I have them on my shelf next to me here real quick. Hi. All right, here we go. So I had these boxes. They when the partial shipment came in, I had to grab the ones off the wall because they were accidentally put up on the wall. But it was a sealed brick that came in, and I made sure to grab number 3 and 5 for you. And so we are going to open these up and find out what is inside. All right, so real quick here. We have Storm King's Thunder. All right, first up, we have a Yochlol. A Yochlol. Apparently a semi-transparent one at that. After that, we have... Aha! An Intellect Devourer. Hey, Diadems, thank you for gifting that to Psyart. And Psyart, welcome aboard. After that, we have, ooh, nice bread and butter figure, a Bandit. And lastly, we have a Winter Wolf. Which would you like out of this box? A Yochlol, a Winter Wolf, an Intellect Devourer, or a Bandit? You want the Awoo? Alright, a Winter Wolf is coming your way. A cool Awoo. Alright, box numero 2-0. You're just that good, sir. Okay, first up we have Kazi Alphalandra. Look at that great bow. Oh, Lodi, you could put in some work with that thing. Next up, we have... Oh, I guess we're going right into the uncommons here. We have a Gith Zerai Monk with daggers. A Gith Zerai Monk with daggers. After that, we have... Ooh, you have a rare figure in here, sir. Helena Nostrum. Helena Nostrum. Or, Mr. Flumph, you have a chonky piece in here. Your chonky piece is... a hill giant with a spear. This is huge sized. So it's on a 3-inch base. This is a big boy right here. Chonky boy. Yeah, active camo even. Definitely the chonky boy. All right. I mean, me gripping him for comparison here. Yep, no problem, Flump. Here, real quick. Here's a large-sized winter wolf for comparison. Here's your winter wolf for comparison. So thank you for adopting the minis. I have 6 other boxes of Storm King's Thunder from the brick of 8, and they are looking for a good home as well. If anyone out there would like to adopt them, they are, because there are chunky figures. Like, these are heavy figures. The cost to get them was a little higher, so they are 11 instead of 10. But hopefully that extra dollar is kind of like, yeah, that's cool, because you're getting a 3-inch base. You're getting huge figures. Thank you. I'll be back sometime if you're still running. Yes, sir. Enjoy your game. And it was fun playing with y'all. Yep. Be well. I'd say happy rolling, but that would mean you're killing your PCs, so all right, let's go back to our DMGs. And pardon. Well, actually, we're going to look at our dominant race here on the island. Roll a D10. 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 is humans. Hey, so we do have some humans around. Alrighty, now we'll go to our DMGs. In particular, its relations are 13. There's tension or rivalry. The ruler's status is 7. A feared tyrant. What is the notable trait about this island? 19. It is the site of an important tomb or graveyard. We're going to go odds or evens on the D20. Odds of an important tomb. It is known for its 4 artists and writers. And the current calamity happening on this island is 2. Ooh, a new cult seeks converts. The primary religious building on this island, we rolled a 20. Oh, is a hidden shrine to a fiend or an evil deity. Maybe that's where this cult is coming from. Hidden shrine to a fiend or an evil deity. And the best tavern in town is 7, a raucous dive. Yeah, I guess, big sailing area. You're going to find some action, right? Not that you can't have a nice raucous dive. They all don't have to be rat holes. And the tavern's name is 19 and 5. The Black Pony. That kind of, right? So there's the Black Stag here, and then there was also the Running Pegasus. So I wonder if maybe a similar operator wants to name theirs, somewhat the same, to get a little bit of attention. Again, this is why I love doing having this as a practice, as a workshop. because the mind just spins as we seek naturally to make connections to what we see in front of us. It is a natural human habit. Our brain tries to make sense of the things that happen around us. That's why we can have some really good stories about going mad and why that can make us feel less than human. That's also why for people who have trouble putting stories together, we view them as, we view them as different in some way. It could have been a learning disability, a developmental disability, or look at those who've passed on, right? They're no longer making a story of their own, and we hope that their story will continue to linger. It could be a loved one, it could be a friend, it could have even been a family pet. But we feel bad because they can no longer actively participate in the story of our lives. That's one way to look at it. And I don't want to seem crass or invoke, people have different religious or philosophical or biological views on death. But through the lens of storytelling, this is one way you can look at it. And so we try and make sense, we try and reconcile, because we're so used to living in a story, to participating in it. Right? The only reason... Here. The only reason this is worth $1 is because we all just pretend it does. Because we all pretend that this is $1, it is worth $1. And if that illusion ever fades, then suddenly it's just a piece of green cotton. That's all it is. We're staring at reality, and yet we're imposing fantasy and storytelling upon it. Got to keep things bank face. Come on now. If you've worked in retail, you should know this. Keep your bills bank face and be crisp about presenting them. Be kind to the people who work at cash registers. All right, so we have our basics and we have a good summary of where this is going to be taking place. Let's go back just for a little bit longer and let's imagine a little bit more about where we are. What, here. I want to find a good... Here we go. We can ask ourselves, what type of island do we have? I'm not going to read the whole article here, but we can use this for inspiration, right? We have an atoll. Ireland and Great Britain are islands. Look at, so here is, in the Adirondachts, or more familiar in my neck of the woods, we have the Lake Erie Islands. And these are just raised pieces that weren't carved out by the glaciers during the Ice Age, out of the limestone that forms a base here. The Isles of Fernando de Noronha in Brazil are the visible parts of submerged mountains. So these are mountain peaks. You go for something perhaps a little flatter here, Manhattan. The Hawaiian Islands. Or an artificial island. Kansai Airport is built on an artificial island in Japan. And there's more that we can get into than what, than what I want to present tonight. But just follow the links. Let your interest take you, right? Island ecology. What are the organisms? How does water work? Where are you getting fresh water? What are the plants and animals that live there? What are the weather patterns that exist? Daly says, I'm a big fan of tropical with a lagoon. So something a bit like an atoll. Might be something like that. Or at least there would be like there would be an inlet, right? Diadems, I have 6 boxes of Storm King's Thunder. I have 9 boxes of Monster Menagerie 2. And I think I have 13 boxes of Ravnica. Bora Bora? Sure. There we go. Island group in the Leeward group of the western part of the Society Islands of French Polynesia. And here we are. There's Bora Bora. Look at that. Nice. So here's like a nice solid, like an island that is then surrounded by the coral wall that's helping to form the beach and such around it. Good call, Daly. And again, this is gonna, like, the culture, the people who live there are also gonna influence what's the architecture, what's the design, what are the what is the religion that is followed there. Beautiful, huh? Now, part of the geography is going to be solved when we do a little bit of random land making in Wonder Draft here coming up soon. But we can certainly work on an atoll, and have that be a part of our generation. As we see, forest. This it doesn't even just have to be deciduous or coniferous. Well, in the terms that we know, here in the northern, or in more northern or temperate climates, this could be more equatorial. It could be tropical, subtropical. It could be a rainforest. It could just be a bunch of palm trees. That's still a forest, right? Grassland. Beaches have the various sea oats and other various grasses that grow in the sand. So we don't have to just have this be, well, it says forest and grassland, so clearly this has to be Ireland, right? It has to be a northern or like a Western European setting. It can, and I have no problems having our islands be there as well. But we could go to the Caribbean. We could go to Greenland. And everything could be very far north. If we have something like Japan, Japan stretches out long enough that its northern island of Hokkaido is very cold and wintry. In fact, for comparison, oh, come on. Monitors work for me. All right. Hokkaido, right? And look where it's lining up. Look how far north we're talking about. And yet down here, we get why am I derping on the southern? It's the tropical with all the beaches. I should watch enough anime that not Hokkaido. It's shame on me for forgetting. Hey, McCoolman, welcome. There's even a military base there. Well, the southern tip of Japan. It has all the Shisa. This is gonna kill me here. Okinawa! Thank you, Daily. Oh, that was really... Oh, I was boiling my noodle on that one. Okinawa. Alright, so let's get back to the comparison. We have Japan, but it stretches out far enough that if you take a look, Okinawa is mid to southern California. Right? Hokkaido, we're talking about Washington and tickling Canada. Big Island goes a great long ways, and it can cover several zones of climate. Daly says I have a condo on Saint Martin in the part of the Dutch Antilles. There are indeed forests and grasslands. I know, shame on me, Daly. But thank you for coming through on that, and for confirming that there are indeed forests and grasslands down in Saint Martin, and hopefully this rando Twitch streamer was able to was able to also just pop out Antilles. I'm just some rando. Who are we kidding, huh? Who are we kidding? So we have these 5 islands. We could have them stretched out a while. You know, they could be 5 large islands, and they can even have their own little things going on. We could cluster them, like what we're looking at here, with the Moonshae. I don't necessarily think here that south of Gwyneth that this is becoming very tropical. But it certainly did say that up here in the Corin Archipelago that these were very cold. You know, I think they said that it was ice choked, especially during the winter. So we can spread these out, but I want to step back and take a look. So what is the culture that would live here? Daily, did you just call yourself, to me, a non-fleshed out NPC, sir? For shame, we have a ton of background story and stats on you. That's... Stat me! No. I just said I'm just some rando Twitch streamer. I really do feel ashamed that I couldn't remember Okinawa. That, for as big of a weeaboo as I am, that should have popped out. But hey, you know what? Dutch Antilles? Sure. All day, every day. I can pronounce that just by glancing over in chat. But when it comes to Okinawa, forget about it. Oh, gosh. Hopefully this entertainment is partially why you all are here as well. Alright, in the island chain now, we have 5 different islands, 5 different primary... I mean, they could have sub-islands and whatnot around them. But we have 2 militocracies, right? We have this Sverfneblin and the Metallic Dragonborn. Or in fact, if we review this, right? We have the Metallic Dragonborn. The weird locales, there's a forest of awakened or petrified trees. That could turn into, as proposed, the racial minority could be the trees. And these are sort of exiles or pilgrims from Dragonborn kind that want to return to nature. And so they're very druidic, very fey, sort of like what we were exploring with Gwyneth in the Sword Coast Adventurers Guide. It is ruled by a religious leader, and a druidic order is very much a religious order. It has a grand temple. It is known for a great hero and savior, but it is on the brink of war. And with whom? Well, a lot of antagonists are found down below, right? In fact, we did roll just after that Chromatic Dragonborn in the next island over. But these Dragonborn are ruled or controlled by a powerful monster. Could that be a dragon? Could it be a beholder? Could it be ghosts of a past civilization? That's going to be up for us to decide. But this is a thinking prompt, a roleplay prompt. Could the war be brewing because this powerful monster has beef with a forest of awakened trees? And each of these rulers are using Dragonborn as pawns in this scheme to wage an ancient war of some kind. Hey, Pneumatica, welcome. Dark X Initiative have set of ocean with a constant hurricane. Could it be a demon working with Tiamat? Well, there's going to be room for that as well, Initiative. Not that we can't have something like a permanent storm set off in one direction from one of the islands, or it could even be something that is brewing in the middle if we wanted to make one of these islands an atoll. And in the middle is just, it's a constant gyre, G-Y-R-E, or some other sort of storm that is brewing. We can certainly put supernatural elements like that. Or, you know what I was thinking as well? When you come down here to the Tiefling Island, they live in a dead magic zone, and I thought, well, that would be a cool atoll. Something about the coral or the mountains making this circle means that if you're on the interior waters, and maybe even for a little bit outside of this ring, then magic is nullified as per an anti-magic field. And that in itself would be a mystery to explore. And it could also make things very dangerous there, right? No magical healing? Mending? What? You actually have to make your own stuff? Yeah. You have to make your own stuff. Rip wizard. But you know what? It means you got to use your brain, and a wizard still, even if the wizard doesn't have magic, I'm presuming the wizard will have intelligence and can still maneuver or do certain things. But if you want to ratchet up the tension in a fantasy game, take away the ability or somehow deaden or hamper the ability to cast magic and see what happens. In fact, because of that, right, let's use this in practical thinking. Let's apply sociology. Let's apply religious thinking. Let's apply economic forces. This, of the 5 islands, would be a very good neutral ground, right? If people can't cast magic, then odds are if you want to negotiate a treaty or forge a contract, or if you're a bunch of pirates and you want to make sure that you're banding together, that people can't use mind tricks or emotional manipulation. You don't have to worry about a delayed blast fireball going off after you sealed a deal of some way that would have an inheritance go to someone. And so it would be an inconvenience for many, but in a world where magic exists and people are aware of just what it can do, that could actually make this place very popular. That would also mean that it would be an economic center, because goods and services would have to be brought in constantly, because people can't just prestidigitation dust and debris away. They can't just purify food and drink. You have to boil your water. You actually have to manually clean your house. Oh. You think they'd make a lot of acid? For what reason? Or how would that... and I'm not against that idea. I'm asking to explore the idea. Initiative, what are your thoughts that would make this a product, either as an importation, or an import or an export? But the people who live here would abide by this in its own way. It says that there's a grand temple. It may very well be to a deity. And in D&D, yes, if you pray to a deity, at least as particular classes, you receive powers and reward from it. Yet you wouldn't here. Could this be a test of your faith? Could this be a pilgrimage site for people who want to not just invoke their deity, but understand their deity? Does their deity's message hold up to life without magic? If I'm going to be a cleric of some deity on high, or down below even, there are certain tenets that faith, or through the god or the prophets, are going to say this is how you should live. Does that include necessitating the magic coming from those who invoke the deity, or are these universal truths that people can live inside of without having access to special powers? And in a D&D world where miracles are very much a thing. To have atheists in D&D, not that they can't exist, but think about it. if you want proof a god exists, I mean, unless you think it's just a wizard pulling your tail, you have it. It manifests. It occurs. And so this would be an interesting place to test your faith. And it's still very much a temple, even though there's no magical incarnation of your practices, of your philosophy. Oh, vials of acid or alchemist fire for fighting? Yeah, and you know what? Maybe they have, maybe that's easy. There could be a local poisonous, or I guess that'd be poison, but there could be something there locally that could help them manufacture these alternate weapons, these other ways of fighting. Hey, that's true. Oh, good idea, Initiative. This could be a place where people, where the other islands, even through some sort of a compact with each other, it could be the site of a maximum security prison. This is where the bad people of the islands go because, you know, unless we're talking like a super high level wizard or something using like high level magic that can break the anti-magic, not shell, but the anti-magic zone, the dead magic zone. No magic, not even cantrips. Nope, I'm not going to let you use a cantrip to use acid to melt through a lock. Good idea, Initiative. In fact, you say, I have a religious group in my campaign that hates magic, since most of the party is somewhat a spellcaster, so I made anti-magic golems. Can't wait for next session. Ah, yeah. Dabbling with that, or as we've seen on our Tuesday campaigns that we run on the channel, dabbling with wild magic can produce some interesting effects as well. So they have a library dedicated to religious study. I think that could go in part, really, with the Grand Temple. And it is religious study. So this could very well be a cosmopolitan place. And what makes it all the better, and even more interesting as an atoll, is it is a confederacy. And so there are several villages, there are several cultures that are all living in this area. But they've decided to get together. And I was throwing out an idea, well, when the tide is low, maybe that actually makes the island appear. And when it's high, everyone's in their own, you know, in their own home base for a little while. Yep, Coffee Cat has a chicken on his face. And he's a vampire. And a tiefling. And a bard. Actually, with Coast and Mountain, I think an atoll is going to be the way to go here. So here, let's put a couple thoughts. Notable prison. Imports goods, services due to lack of magic. Neutral meeting ground for business. Pilgrimage to test one's faith. Or I guess a pilgrim site. Dark says a drow bard or go home. Oh my. You won't take a tiefling bard? Come on, Dark. They might. If they have mountains, they would have access to various stones to build castles and fortifications, and perhaps a great amount of minerals to mine. And hey, it's known for its gambling. In a dead magic zone, you can't go, hey, turn over D6. Hey, I won. So there could also be some really source of wealth and transference. I guess we'll just call it wealth and casinos. Thoughts. Settlement concept. Hey, Rody, welcome. So this island is primarily forest and swamp. It doesn't have to completely cover the entire island, but more notably, it is forested and it does have swampiness to it. So, you know, stagnant water. It could be a saltwater marsh even. Maybe the island partially floods during certain tides. It could be in fact, we can combine the two, and we might even be able to say that a big mangrove forest is almost a combination. And if we do that, then people might not even live on ground. They would live in these giant mango trees that are just growing up out of some shallow ocean water and sand. That could be very interesting. Or not mango, mangrove. All right, take a look. Initiative, you think that the tyrant is secretly a black dragon? Well, we do have Dragonborn that exists on our first two islands we randomly generated. In fact, they're seeking some sort of a convert. Have you ever heard of Draconians from the Dragonlance series? So in this case, maybe the island is entirely made of mangroves. And everyone lives in the canopies. Oh, yeah. Due to the lair effects of the black dragon, or regional effects, I should say, regional effects. The region containing a legendary black dragon's lair is warped by the dragon's magic, which creates one or more of the following effects. The land within 6 miles of the lair takes twice as long as normal to traverse, since the plants grow thick and twisted, and the swamps are thick with reeking mud. Water sources within 1 mile of the lair are supernaturally fouled. Enemies of the dragon that drink such water regurgitate it within minutes. And fog lightly obscures the land within 6 miles of the lair. So yeah, in fact, we could even say that maybe there was a black dragon that slept, and at some point in time, a nice long sleep, water could have flowed. The weather could have changed, the course of water. A storm could have done one thing or another, a volcanic eruption somewhere. We could say that there is a black dragon at the heart of the island, causing the growth and So no one might live in the heart of the island. Everyone lives on the outside, where the water is pure, and you have all the wood you could hope to have. We could make it normal mangrove. We can come up with some fantasy, like a sea oak or something. And so what that could mean with all of these wood resources, that they export fruit and wood. Vegetables? I don't know. A sea potato? Something like that. And it's the boss of the island. Well, maybe in the term of, it is like a boss monster, but it could also end up being the one who's behind this new cult. So the houses, they'd be on stilts in so much that the houses on this island, I think, would be built into the canopy or amongst the trunks of the mangroves. And again, this is D&D. We can consider that they have fantastic sized mangroves. And especially, look, if we have a dragon that's sort of influencing things around here, so they'd be like the Valenwood trees in Dragonlance. I did say the correct name for them, didn't I? If not, correct me. So they probably export fruit and wood, as well as maybe some feathers or species of mammal that live out here as well. Yeah, it could be a special type of wood. In fact, because this wood grows up out of the ocean, this could be very valuable wood for shipbuilding, because it might be just naturally water resistant. And so it won't need as much caulking or lacquering or painting or things along those lines. In fact, look at this. Maybe people thought that, it's the site of an important tomb. That tomb could be the resting place of that black dragon. Or the black dragon could be dead, it could be undead, or somewhere in between. Something happened, it's in a state of suspended animation until, this cult's coming around and wants to wake it up. And in fact, if the dragon were to leave, what would that do to the island? Would the island slowly start disintegrating and fall apart because the dragon's influence isn't having an effect on the lands? Let's take a look here. Thoughts. We have an Arctic and a swamp as our two main terrain types. It is a militocracy, so it is ruled by the military. This is home to the Sverfneblin, though they do live in harmony. It would appear, though, from what we've generated, that they might have some kind of compelled military service. Yeah, the cult might try and turn it into a... that's a good idea, initiative. They might be trying to actively turn it into one. Now, there is an illegitimate ruler, so civil war is simmering, which could be dangerous because all the citizens have military experience in some degree. Might be compelled. This is also the site of an important tomb in some fashion. Everyone here is patriotic. Well, I mean, not everyone, obviously, not 100%, because what is? And there's a suspected vampire infestation as the current calamity. It doesn't just have to be vampires. It very well could. But we could also substitute something similar in for vampires. And don't be afraid, as we're making points on each of the islands, maybe we can connect some points. And maybe all the islands are linked together by an overarching plot. Hello, yeah, we're going to be doing a campaign tomorrow. And we're going to be looking for this stuff. Yugoloths, you think? I've not played with Yugoloths. So that'd be bringing in... That'd be bringing in an interesting aspect when it comes to, if we're running with multiple universe or in a multiverse with different planes, different levels of existence, and of course you have these interdimensional like weapon dealers who will sell to both sides. So yeah, I mean, so instead of vampires, it could be that it could be a suspected Yugoloth. So they might come here to trade weapons with the Sverfneblin. Infestation is a growing. I guess we could put maybe like a lobby of arms dealers, Yugoloths, that are causing the simmering or the simmering thoughts of civil war. Now, being Arctic, and this is something interesting to think about as well, what would be an economic status, or what would be an export, you could say, from an island like this? If I were to tell you icebergs, can any of you out there tell me why an iceberg would be an export in an island's economy? Someone wants the illegitimate ruler there to start the civil war and hired Yugoloths so they can alter self and stuff. Well, ice, as per iceberg, but why would they be exporting icebergs? It freezes stuff and didn't always have freezers, so that is in part, that is a function of ice. True. Hey, Psyart has it. If you can float 1,000-ton iceberg to an island that otherwise has very little in the way of freshwater resources, suddenly that island has a very large supply of fresh water. Exactly. So the question is, how much does an iceberg sell for, huh? The site of an important tomb. Do we have enough information to know who's died here? Or what has died here? As we've seen above, these islands aren't necessarily just ruled by those who have come to settle upon them. The chromatic dragonborn of island number 2 are ruled or controlled by a powerful monster. And we even hinted that the dragonborn in island number 1 might actually be ruled or serve a forest of awakened trees. Well, it would depend on the need, obviously, supply and demand, and we got to make the graph and such. Well, a chunk of their island, I suppose, because if they wanted to expand their island in a way, I suppose they could if they wanted to like fuse icebergs together. In fact, some of their ships might even be icebergs. That they just sort of install masts or oars on, and they just take the ship there. And because it's, well, they'd have to be careful if they went to that anti-magic atoll. But they could probably just set up a teleportation circle on various icebergs, with a minimal crew, sail it down to an island in need. Because look, you may take an iceberg south, and it's still going to be honking huge for quite a while, even though it's above freezing waters and winds. But they might even have something set up where there's not really any boats. They just navigate the icebergs and use a teleportation circle they etched into the ice to go home. But especially with Sverfneblin, right? They live in caves. So their island could very well be ever changing, ever drifting. They connect the icebergs by tunnels and bridges. Wouldn't that be interesting? Just sort of floats around on the seas, and they break off parts as necessary to sell, or I don't know, a storm could damage it, and so they move on and into the next iceberg as they continue, as these deep gnomes tunnel, and they make their homes here. In that case, maybe we have someone very important in who's been enshrined in ice. And you're all thinking Aang the Airbender. I know it. I see it on your faces. It could be a person like that, though, or an entity of some kind. And of course, look, you gotta stay warm when it's cold outside. Ice caves that move at random. I like the idea. Rhodium says, I am so seeing the Water 7 arc of One Piece in this place. I'm waiting for many to declare their local dish to be Mizu Mizu meat. I'm not sure what a Mizu Mizu is, so I can't really declare that, I suppose. A god of some kind, or some other extraplanar creature? That could be. The other islands, this seems to be implying through these random rolls that there are great old ones, or these aspects of a past that have sort of been removed from society, maybe even by force back in the way back times. And you know what? If only we put the clues together from things like intact obelisks that are etched with historical lore, or dare I say, intact obelisks that are etched with a dedication of some kind. Yeah, it could be like a solar or a planetar. It could even be... If we come back down here with our swamp, our mangrove, there's a hidden shrine to a fiend or an evil deity that we rolled up. Ooh. Doesn't mean the deity has to be there. But the deity could be frozen in the block up north, and the cultists are starting in the south, and they're going to work their way back up, and converting that black dragon to a Draco Lich will do much to appease their evil deity. Oh, I think we're getting plot here, everyone. Good ideas. Or again, if you want it to be a solar or a planetar or something along those lines, I'm fine with those ideas. I may run in a tangent with something, but Vecna, just as planned. He can't do this, so he has to go like this. All right. Well, I think we have the idea here. So what I want to do is I want to take about a 10-minute break. I'm going to get a snack and a drink. If you all have to use the restroom, do whatever. Let's meet back in 10 minutes. And let's make these islands in Wonder Draft. Shall we? I think we shall.